Welcome, Gunrunner.
Way back in September 2021, I produced a video looking at the best exclusives for the NEC PC Engine and its Western sibling, the TurboGrafx-16. In fact, it was one of the earliest videos I made in the System Exclusives series, and one that I really enjoyed making, as I'm a huge fan of the console. If you watched that video, if you didn't and want to see it, I've linked it in the description, you might remember that I only included HuCard games. And that's because I always intended to make a second video looking at CD-only titles. It's just taken me a lot longer to get around to it than I originally envisaged. So yes, this is 10 exclusives for the PC Engine CD, TurboGrafx-16 CD, PC Engine Duo and Turbo Duo. Yes, I very much had to abbreviate that list somewhat for the video's title. Due to the system's huge popularity in Japan and lack of success in North America, you'll notice that nearly all of these games originate from the land of the rising sun, and so I've very much tried to pick games that would still be accessible to Western audiences, as there are many exclusives that aren't, and I also tried to represent a wide diversity of different genres too, which also wasn't easy on a system that's dominated by shoot-em-ups. So I hope this video will open up your eyes to some of the delights that NEC's 16-bit CD format had to offer, and provide some warm nostalgia for those lucky enough to have experienced everything it has in its locker. Now let's get gaming, shall we?
First there was Atari, then there was Nintendo.
Now, the next generation video games, TurboGrafx-16 and TurboGrafx-CD for live video games and 2,000 times more memory. Turbo Express Portable, Turbo Chip compatibility, basic system $99.99. TurboGrafx-16, the next generation now.
One of the rarest and most sought after titles out there for the PC Engine CD, Kiri, was produced by NEC of Devil's Crush and Psychosis fame. But it isn't a pinball game or a shoot 'em up, the two genres they became most famous for, and it's actually a scrolling beat 'em up, not unlike Taito's Ninja Warriors in many ways. In fact, when it was released, it was described by well-known Japanese magazine Famitsu as being a cross between Ninja Warriors, Strider and Dracula X. I can certainly see why, as there are many similar elements to those two other games too, especially in the visual aspects. And speaking of graphics, one of the things that most surprised me about Kiri is that most of the stages scroll from right to left instead of the left to right standard. The plot of the game is that tired old rescue the princess trope, but to be honest you won't really care, because there's an awful lot of game to get your teeth into here, with 19 levels of non-stop action, one-on-one boss fights, ninja magic, and a pretty unique battle system. As well as an energy bar for yourself and any boss you fight, there is also another bar that depletes as you dispatch enemies. You can only face the bosses once this has been run down. The graphics here are stupendous, with many clever tricks that shouldn't be possible on the PC Engine, and there's a great audio soundtrack too. Kiri is a true hidden gem. Subject of controversial video games comes up, this title often seems to get a mention. In this case, it's down to the theme of the game rather than any kind of extreme levels of violence or in-your-face nudity. This is the sequel to the original show Aniki, released on PC Engine Q-Card in 1992, and the English translation of the game's rather bizarre sounding title is Love Super Big Brother. And there sure are some big brothers in this game. In fact, you nearly see a few other big things too. That's because this horizontally scrolling shoot 'em up has sprites and other visual aspects that resemble naked men. Lara Croft and Joanna Dark, this game isn't. Besides these rather, how shall I put this, male-loving themes, there is another key gameplay element that sets iShow Aniki apart from other shooters of the era, and that's the control scheme. You see, instead of rapidly pressing buttons to fire bullets at the enemies, you have to input intricate button combinations Street Fighter style, making it a lot more challenging. The homoerotic nature of this game certainly makes it stand out from the competition in the already rather crowded shoot 'em up space on the PC Engine, but fortunately it's also a rather decent game too, that features some excellent graphics, particularly the parallax effects, a great soundtrack and even a simultaneous two-player mode that somehow makes it feel even more homoerotic. In Japan, street racing usually occurs on long straights in industrial areas, which are perfect for drag races, and this will be familiar to anybody out there who's an avid viewer of the Fast and Furious film franchise. These races are known as Zero-Yon, or 04, as a shortening of 0 to 400 metres, the standard length of these races. This series is something of a predecessor to later titles such as Initial D and Wangan Midnight, with its two-car racing, auto parts tuning and anime-style story mode. It also has some RPG and simulation-style gameplay too, which is especially evident in this second game, and it was succeeded with the Shotoku battle titles. Now that history lesson is over, I'll get down to the nitty-gritty of this game. As I've already explained, 04 Champ 2 is a digital representation of Japanese street races and the sequel to the Q-Card original. As before, you have a lineup of legendary sport-grade motors such as the Nissan Skyline GTR, Toyota MR2, Subaru Impreza WRX and Mitsubishi Lancer Revolution, and you also have the same racing sections, but now set in the USA instead of Japan. The RPG-like story mode has been greatly extended, allowing you to make money by betting on races or take on side jobs such as working in security or rather bizarrely a pet shop to earn even more cash and experience points too. Racing game fans really need to check this one out. Now, many of you watching this will be thinking, hang on, Game Ground isn't a PC Engine exclusive, it was a Sega arcade game that was also ported to the Mega Drive and Master System, right? And yes, you're correct, but this SX version for the PC Engine CD is actually more of a sequel to the original game than a straight conversion, with a greater number of stages which are now much larger in size, a remastered CD soundtrack and a host of other new features making it an even more compelling experience. For those who have never played it, the idea of Game Ground is to lead your band of merry men and women across a series of battle zones. Along the way you can add more warriors to the group, but also lose them too. Each character has their own unique abilities, whether they be physical or weapon based attributes, and at the start of each level you're able to select the warrior you wish to throw into the battle first. This requires a judgment call on your behalf, based on what you can see of the level. On the original version this was much easier with its single screen stages, but the levels on this PC Engine remake scroll, so you can't initially see what may be ahead. Another new addition to this version of the game are the huge boss-like characters that make your life even harder. I absolutely love Game Ground SX. This is one of my favourite titles for the PC Engine format, full stop. A spin-off of Hudson's hugely popular Bonk franchise, Air Zonk was one of the best exclusives for the bare bones PC Engine, and its super sequel, subtitled Rockabilly Paradise, is one of the best for the CD add-on. As before, the game stars Bonk's future relative called Zonk, and this is clear to see as he looks just like our prehistoric buddy with his big head and cute appearance. But he now comes with cool shades and extra attitude. Rather than being platformers, the Zonk games are horizontal shoot-em-ups, or should we say cute-em-ups, a bit like Parodius, where all the visuals look like they came straight out of a comic book. As well as more standard power-ups, Zonk can also transform to 9 super-powered alter egos by collecting a meat icon. These include Sushi Zonk, Mini Zonk, Mr. Heli Zonk, Elvis Zonk, and even Gamera Zonk. As well as these cool power-ups, there are also bonus items, varied attack patterns, and some huge bosses to battle too. Everything you'd expect in a good horizontal shooter really. Now I absolutely loved the first game, but I always found it a touch too hard, and apparently a lot of people felt the same, so Hudson lowered the difficulty level a little bit for the sequel. This upset a lot of the hardcore shmup fans who found Super Air Zonk too easy, but it was a welcome change for me. This looks great, sounds great, and plays great too, making it a real PC Engine CD must-have. As you might have guessed, this is a sequel to the legendary point-and-click adventure game Shadowgate, which originally appeared on the Apple Mac before being ported to a host of other platforms including the Atari ST, Amiga, Game Boy Color and NES. In fact, this follow-up was originally meant to appear on the latter of those, but with the NES market dying out, ICOM decided to move the game over to the PC Engine instead and make some changes to the overall design in order to make better use of the more powerful hardware. Interestingly, a version based on the design of the original NES sequel has been released for modern platforms in more recent years and shouldn't be confused with this PC Engine CD exclusive. The biggest change here is the total abandonment of the first-person icon-driven interface, with Beyond Shadowgate being displayed more like a side-scrolling LucasArts adventure. You now see everything from a third-person perspective and control your character by selecting from a series of simple icons using the joypad. It's also set in a very different time period too, with you now taking control of Prince Eric, a descendant of the hero from the first game Lord Jair, with you now trying to avenge the murder of your father. Beyond Shadowgate is a huge game with excellent visuals and a compelling story that really deserve to reach a wider audience. Subtitled The Legend of the Great Son Goku, this is the one and only Dragon Ball Z game for the PC Engine, and a system exclusive too. And yes, I'm going to say Z and not Z, as the proper English pronunciation is actually a lot closer to the original Japanese way of saying it, and I don't care about the Americanised translation of the original anime. The game chronicles Goku's 7 greatest battles, and takes the form of a one-on-one fighter. Like many other video game adaptations of the series, but the way it's done here is actually quite unique. During the battles you can move up and down within the arena, as well as left and right, with the camera zooming in and out of the action. This reminded me a little bit of Atari's Pit Fighter, but the effect is nowhere near as smooth here. Another very interesting aspect of the game is the cutscenes, which take place between each stage and help tell the story of the game. What is particularly interesting about these is that you see the enemies winning in some scenes, something you pretty much never see in Dragon Ball Z games. I have to confess that I know almost nothing about the franchise in question here. Anime in general has always passed me by, but I still found this game very interesting. It's quite unlike any other fighting game on the PC Engine, and plays a lot like an interactive cartoon in many ways. Dragon Ball Z fans will no doubt dig it even more than I did. Also known as Red Alert in Japan, this is a classic arcade-style top-down run-and-gun game in Commando or Ikari Warrior style that seems to have been heavily inspired by Rambo. Well, if the look of the main character is anything to go by anyway. Just like those games, you control a lone soldier with infinite ammo at his disposal, who can also pick up some more limited power-ups, including a flamethrower, grenades, and even a rocket launcher. The game takes place over 6 stages that all correspond to different parts of a huge map presented to you at the start. The level structure isn't the only innovative feature here, as the action actually scrolls in every direction, more like mercs and shock troopers rather than the earlier games I mentioned. Each stage also has a set objective rather than just being mindless violence, with blue markers indicating a mission where the only goal is to reach the end and kill the boss. Red markers representing a stealth mission, where firing anything other than the pistol will spawn more enemies, and finally yellow markers are for a mission with a special objective, such as freeing hostages. In addition to this, the player is required to reach the end of the stage within a strict time limit, and dying puts you right back to the start. Although there is nothing here to warrant it being on CD, other than the rather goofy cutscenes, Last Alert is still a good slice of old school arcade action. Also known as Military Madness 2 in the West, this CD sequel to the game that is very much beloved by PC Engine fans everywhere, which you ranked in 15th place in my greatest NEC PC Engine games of all time poll as subsequent video, is actually a CD only system exclusive, unlike the original Nectaris, which was ported to several other systems. As before, this is a turn-based strategy game that takes place far in the future, that is played out on a hexagonal grid. You take control of the Allied forces trying to stop a common enemy from building a super weapon. This involves wiping out enemy forces and capturing their buildings. You do this by using different types of offense, including tanks, aircraft, artillery and good old infantry, moving them into the right positions to gain tactical advantage. This sequel is more like an update in many ways that includes 48 new maps, new types of unit to control, a CD soundtrack, improved graphics and animations, and also 5 special 2-player maps too. If you are lucky enough to own a PC Engine CD or Turbo Duo, then you'll also find the original version of Nectaris on the same disc too, giving you even more bang for your buck. The graphics are fairly simple for a CD game, although the battle themed cutscenes are very nice, but the new music is awesome. Neo Nectaris is a really compelling title for the Turbo Duo that you'll come back to time after time. Naxat's Serai Senshi Sprien, to use the full title, is not only one of the best vertically scrolling shoot 'em ups to the NEC Turbo Duo, it's also a game with a really interesting history. You see, the game was actually developed by shoot 'em up connoisseurs Compile, and was originally going to make up part of the legendary Aleste series. In fact, the original name was Serai Senshi Aleste. It also started development on the Sega Mega Drive, but was switched to the PC Engine as there was more demand for games of this type on the platform in Japan. It also formed part of Naxat's Summer Carnival, a competitive gaming event similar to Hudson Soft's All Japan Caravan Festival. Sprien was eventually given a fantasy theme to try and set it apart from the series it was originally meant to be part of, and this gives it a nice point of difference. One thing that will seem familiar though is Compile's iconic orb-driven power-up system, where you have 4 distinct styles of weapon and need to keep collecting the same type in order to reach full power. Being on CD, a series of cutscenes was also added to tell the game's story. Sprien is a classic compile shooter of the highest order that features fantastic visuals with sprites flying around everywhere, an excellent soundtrack, and some of the best shoot 'em up gameplay you'll find on any 16-bit system from this era, making it an absolute must-have title.
This is not a toy. It's a sophisticated multimedia video entertainment system that uses the latest CD technology, not rated for little boys. With CD capabilities prepared for an assault by sight and sound. It's upwardly and downwardly compatible with games and graphics that make others look like mere child's play. Step into the next dimension. Get the new Turbo Duo. It's not a toy. Now get 5 free games, including Gate of Thunder, when you buy the new Turbo Duo. Sold at stores near you.
And that rounds up my look at 10 amazing NEC Turbo Duo exclusives. Which of these great games were you most impressed with, or do you have some suggestions of your own that I can cover in a follow-up video in the future? I always love to hear the thoughts and views of my audience, so please get typing in that comments section. Before I go though, I must thank all of my loyal patrons and YouTube members for continuing to support my channel and make videos like this possible. However, I must give special thanks to the following people in particular for their much appreciated pledges: D. Vaughan, Albert Davis, Richard Baker, Martin Wiggins, Peter Grantham, Bernard Santu, Mins, Classic Gamer 74, Josh Hartman, Dennis Skronsky, Ben P. Stein, Tabby Kitson, Grady Haynes, Paul Daniels, Seth A. Robinson, Kalimatorn, Carl Olsen, Mark Strickland, Big Chuzzle, Cole Cloping, Black Siren, John Alberino, Krispy Kreme, Justin Cooney, Luke Boynton, Sarah B, Richard Tate, Telboy 2011, Thiago Silva, James Welch, Wesley K, Hunter Bungay, Cellphone Smartphone, Glacier 9 and Election Star Collapse. If you also want to help support this channel, you can now join as a member for as little as £2 a month, where you'll get access to exclusive videos and updates and much more besides. Just click the button on my community page to get started. My Patreon is also still available if you prefer to support me in other ways too. I've been the Laird, I thank you for watching and I'll see you all again for another video very soon.